to a look like famed NBA trainer Chris Brinkley has broken his silence about Caitlin Clark.
The Indiana Fever just made a move that has everyone questioning their priorities, and honestly, it's wild. Chris Brinkley, arguably the most respected trainer in basketball, wants to work with Caitlin Clark to help her make a healthy recovery for the 2026 season. The guy who trains LeBron James and Kevin Durant. But here's the problem. The Fever's front office is throwing up roadblocks, and now we're all left wondering if they actually want Caitlin to reach her full potential, or if something else entirely is going on behind the scenes. Quick question for you right now, before we even dive deeper, do you think the Fever's front office is truly looking out for Caitlin's best interests here?
Structure of that specific team.
Yes.
So
yeah. You just called it.
Sometimes
some teams are like, no,
they've got
you need
people
to be with me a year for the first 3 years. This is happening with me and Caitlin Clark. So Caitlin Clark finished her rookie season. We've been talking for a few years, and
you worked with Caitlin Clark.
So we were going to work last summer, but I was gonna have to go to Indianapolis, and I respect it. Like when you're young on your team, you.
So, get this. Chris Brinkley himself actually broke his silence about wanting to work with Caitlin Clark for her recovery and development heading into the 2026 season. And honestly, this should have been a complete no-brainer for the Fever, yet somehow, they managed to massively complicate it. Brinkley isn't just some random trainer trying to get his name out there for clout. This man has literally worked with NBA champions, certified superstars, and basically anyone who's serious about taking their game to the absolute next level. When someone with that kind of pedigree says they want to work with your franchise player, your undisputed face of the league, you say yes. You absolutely do not create obstacles. And just to make sure we're all on the same page about who Chris Brinkley actually, because some people might not be familiar with his insane track record. This guy has trained LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and a list of NBA champions that truly goes on forever. So he's not out here doing basic Instagram workouts. He is the real deal, and his track record speaks for itself. Players don't just work with him for the social media posts or for fun. They work with him because he delivers undeniable game-changing results. But when he publicly states that he's actually been trying to work with Caitlin for years now, well, that's not just a big deal. That's a massive red flag pointing at the Fever.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping now this season, this off season, I'm hoping that she'll come to New York and we'll get some work. And she's the reason why the WNBA has become so big. I would love to work with her.
Yeah.
She's an amazing talent. She's changed the game.
She has absolutely changed.
Yeah.
Women's sports
for sure.
Just
and I love
generally
competitiveness too.
Oh man, I know. She's that's the other piece too, that like it's okay for women to be competitive. You know, like
Sure.
Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly pretty frustrating. Brinkley went on a podcast and talked about how he and Caitlin have actually been in contact for a few years already, and they were even supposed to work together last summer. But there was a significant problem. He was going to have to go to Indianapolis. Now, Brinkley, being the consummate professional he is, totally respected the fact that young players on teams typically work out at their practice facilities, which honestly makes perfect sense. But here's what absolutely doesn't make sense. Why is the Fever making it so incredibly difficult for their star player to work with one of the best trainers in basketball, period? Brinkley even said he's hoping this offseason she'll finally come to New York so they can get some work in, and he even called her an amazing talent who has completely changed the game in women's sports. And let me tell you, this is high praise coming from someone who has seen the absolute best of the best walk through his doors. But apparently, the Fever's front office has completely different ideas about how Caitlin should be spending her offseason, which leads us to what Caitlin dealt with during the 2020. Injuries kept piling up. The medical staff looked questionable at best, and there were serious questions about whether the team was managing her health properly, especially as she desperately needed to work on dealing with physicality, and the solution they came up with was to just add muscle. That, my friends, did not work out too well, and in fact, a lot of people actually believe the added muscle contributed to her injuries throughout the entire season.
Trainer Chris Brinkley. Brinkley has trained some of the, or worked with at least some of the most famous names in the game. LeBron James, Kevin Durant. I mean, there is a list that goes on and on. He's sort of a celebrity trainer, if you will, in a sense, but you don't get to that status if you don't have the credibility.
This is exactly why working with someone like Chris Brinkley makes so much incredible sense for Caitlin Clark right now. Think about it. He could help her develop an entirely new system to handle the brutal physicality without compromising her body or risking more injury. He could teach her precisely how to get out of those incredibly tough situations when defenders are trapping her relentlessly. He could work on refining her shooting off the dribble and help her adjust to all the different complex defensive schemes she faces every single night. These aren't just minor tweaks. These are fundamental things Caitlyn needs if she wants to keep dominating at the professional level for years to come. But here's the thing that's truly frustrating about this whole situation. The Fever seem more concerned with controlling where and how Caitlyn trains than they are with actually helping her get better. They want her stuck at the practice facility in Indianapolis. They want her working exclusively with their staff. And sure, there's something to be said for team cohesion and utilizing team resources, but when you have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark on your roster, you quite simply do whatever it takes to help them reach their absolute ceiling, even if that means stepping outside your established comfort zone.
This is what I like to hear. This is what I like to hear. I'm all in. I'm all in on this move. I've been saying I want to see Caitlin Clark train with some new higher level elite training. I want her to get the hell away from Indiana as far as training. I don't want her practicing with Stephanie White. I don't want her working with the Indiana Fever training staff, even though they're getting a new senior advisor and all that. I don't want none of that. I think there's a few things that Caitlin, if she add these few things to her bag, she's definitely unstoppable. Chris Brickley, legendary NBA trainer working with the likes of Carmelo Anthony. When y'all saw Carmelo Anthony lose all that weight and get in shape, Hoodie Melo, he worked with Carmelo Anthony, Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, LeBron James, the best.
Alright, think about it this way, to understand just how baffling this all is. If your car breaks down and the best mechanic in the entire country offers to fix it for free, you don't say no because you'd rather use the guy down the street. That would be absolutely insane. But that's basically what the Fever are doing here. They're turning down world-class help because it doesn't fit into their organizational structure or whatever bureaucratic nonsense they're apparently worried about. The really wild part is that Brickley has been incredibly respectful throughout this entire process. He understood that Caitlyn needed to work at the practice facility when she was first starting out. He didn't make a big fuss about it, and he waited patiently. But now that she's established herself and undeniably proven she's the face of the league, he's saying he'd love to work with her in New York, and that seems more than reasonable to anyone with common sense. Yet, the Fever still aren't making it easy, and you have to wonder what they're so worried about. Are they concerned that if Caitlyn works with an outside trainer, it'll make their own staff look bad? Are they worried about losing control over their franchise player? Or is there something else going on that we just don't know about? Whatever the reason, it's not a good look, because when your organization actively gets in the way of your star player working with elite, world-renowned trainers, that's not just a problem, that's an organizational crisis. Let me break down what Caitlyn actually needs to work on, because this isn't just about getting stronger or adding muscle. She needs to develop smarter, more effective ways to handle physical defense without constantly getting beaten up. She needs to improve her ability to create space when defenders are aggressively bodying her up, and she absolutely needs to work on finishing through contact without relying solely on getting calls from the refs. These are advanced, nuanced skills that require specialized training from someone who has worked with the very best players in the world, and guess what? Chris Brickley has exactly that experience. He's seen what works and what doesn't, and he knows how to take a player's existing skills and refine them to the point where they truly become unstoppable. That's precisely what Caitlyn needs right now. She's already one of the best players in the league, but there's another level she can absolutely reach if she gets the right training and support. The timing of this whole situation is pretty suspicious too, right when Caitlyn could benefit most from working with an elite trainer during the off-season. The Fever are putting up roadblocks, and it almost feels like they're more interested in protecting their own ego than they are in helping their players succeed, which is a dangerous mindset for any organization to have. Here's another crucial thing to consider. Caitlin Clark is the reason the WNBA has exploded in popularity. Brickley even said it himself. She's changed the game, brought millions of new fans to women's basketball, and she is the undeniable face of the league, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. So when you have that kind of generational player on your roster, you do everything in your power to support them, not create unnecessary obstacles. The Fever should be rolling out the red carpet for any trainer of Brickley's caliber who wants to work with Caitlyn. Instead, they're making it difficult, insisting on things being done their way, and putting organizational preferences ahead of what's best for their players. either, and that's just backwards thinking. Some people might argue that the Fever want Caitlyn working with their staff because they know her body and her game better than anyone else, and that's a fair point. But here's the counter argument. Their medical staff and training approach led to a season full of injuries, so maybe it's time to actually try something different. Maybe bringing in an outside world-class perspective would actually help rather than hurt. There's also the fundamental issue of Caitlyn needing to maintain some level of independence and control over her own career. She's not some teenager who needs the organization to micromanage every single aspect of her development. She's a professional athlete who should absolutely have the freedom to work with the trainers and coaches she thinks will help her most. The Fever acting like overprotective parents isn't doing anyone any favors. What makes this even more ridiculous is that other players work with outside trainers all the time. It's completely normal in professional sports. NBA players work with specialized shooting coaches, skills trainers, and strength coaches outside of their team facilities, and nobody thinks twice about it. But for some reason, the Fever seem to think Caitlyn needs to do everything under their watch, and that's just weird and controlled. The fact that Brickley is still interested after all this time says a lot about how much he respects Caitlyn's game. He's not out here begging to work with every player who gets some hype. He's selective about who he trains because his time is valuable and his reputation is always on the line. The fact that he's been trying to work with Caitlyn for years means he sees something truly special in her that he wants to help develop. You also have to look at this from Caitlyn's perspective. She's watching one of the best trainers in basketball say publicly that he wants to work with her, and her own organization is making it difficult. That has to be frustrating, and while she's professional enough not to complain about it publicly, you know she's thinking about it. She knows what kind of incredible opportunity she's missing out on because the Fever simply can't get out of their own way. The other thing that makes this entire situation annoying is that the Fever's current approach clearly isn't working. Caitlyn had a season plagued by injuries, the medical staff has been questioned, and the training methods have been criticized. So why are they so resistant to trying something new? Pride? Stubbornness? Whatever it is, it's not helping Caitlyn, and it's certainly not helping the team. At some point, the Fever need to realize that helping Caitlyn reach her full explosive potential benefits everyone. A better, healthier, more skilled Caitlyn Clark means more wins means more fans, and more fans means more money. It's really that simple, but instead, they're stuck in this mindset of needing to control everything, and it's gonna backfire on them if they're not careful. Chris Brickley working with Caitlyn in New York during the off-season should be a complete non-issue. She goes to New York, works with one of the best trainers in basketball, comes back to Indianapolis better than ever, and everyone wins. But the Fever are turning this into some complicated drama when it absolutely doesn't need to be. The bottom line is this: the Indiana Fever need to get out of their own way and let Caitlyn work with whoever she wants to work with. If that's Chris Brickley, great. If it's someone else, fine. But standing in the way of their franchise player getting world-class training is just bad business and terrible player management. Caitlyn deserves better than this, and so do the fans who want to see her play at the highest possible level. The Fever blocking Caitlyn from working with Chris Brickley is a perfect, infuriating example of an organization getting in its own way, and if they're serious about winning and keeping their star player happy, they need to figure this out fast. What do you think about all? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this.